history. 16 of those years were served in a vice president role, providing HR leadership to multiple facilities. She obtained her master's degree in human resources from the University of Houston at Clear Lake and is certified as a senior professional in human resources. She is currently transitioning her career to provide coaching to executive and middle managers. So I'd like to again turn it over to Ms. Nancy Edgar.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me here, and thanks for saluting healthcare. As what was mentioned, I have spent my entire career in healthcare and totally focused on the people that really make the difference, that provide the care. And so today, Melinda Stevenson actually and I have been long-term colleagues, and she gave me a call a couple weeks ago and said, how would you like to speak to our chamber and about something that is very, important in healthcare. So I did some thinking, and it was, of course, everything on the news right now is centered around diversity and differences and trying to find similarities. And so it was interesting that at the time, this has been something that we've been struggling with in healthcare and in all industries. So I thought, well, that's something that'll reflect on, on our industry, to tell you a little bit about what we struggle with, but also I know that all of you are managing multi-diverse generational workforces, and you're also trying to meet the needs of multi-generational customer bases or whoever it is that you serve. So that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. And I hope I think you've probably all done some reading on this topic or gone to a workshop or something, so this may be a little bit of a refresher, but I'm not sure if you understand some of the complexities that this issue presents for healthcare providers. So I thought it might be a good opportunity, and I have to go down if I want to go. Which way should I point it? That way, right? Okay. So we've got some overheads up here, but if you want to, just listen, I think it's a, very interesting thing that's gone on here in the last couple of years. Right now, we've got 4 generations alive and well in our world, and I'm going to speak mostly about how this affects the United States. Although it is definitely a global issue, but it's very relevant in this country. So I think a lot of you have heard about the 4 different generations. Some of them have multiple names. And one of them is called either the greatest generation, you've heard that, that's our oldest generation. The veterans, the traditionalists, or now I've heard them called the silver surfers. So that's a new one. I have to tell you honestly that until 7 years ago, I was married to a silver surfer. So I was actually 7 years ago, I lost my spouse, and he was 23 years older than me. So we had this generation thing alive and well. We had a house with a silver surfer, a baby boomer, and a couple of millennials in it. And I can tell you that there were differences abounding every day. So if you're a silver surfer, I don't see any in the room, but if you were born before 1945, we're going to talk a little bit about what really shaped this generation. I just want to go on record as saying, I don't want to stereotype, not everybody that was born in 1945 can be exactly the same. It's like my father, I talked to him, he says, oh, Germans, you know how they are, they're cheap. I said, a whole country of cheap people, Dad? I mean, there's different types of people in every group. So these are some generalities, some things that have been found to be common across these generations, and they're shaped by what went on and how we were raised and the societal norms at the time. Number of us, baby boomers, were born between 1946 and around 1964. And then we've got our Generation Xers, they were about 1965 to about 1980. And then our largest generation now, the millennials, born after 1980. A lot of you have those as children, and we're reaping what we sowed here. Okay, so generational diversity. What it equals, what we're dealing with, is that we have differences in expectations, preferences, and the way we act, okay? And in healthcare, it's particularly challenging because we have a number of different populations that we're trying to figure out how to address these different expectations, preferences, and behaviors. And the patient population, our customer base, is coming into those hospitals or into those physician practices, urgent care centers, with a whole different set of expectations based on what generation they fall within. And then, of course, we have employees and medical staff, other providers of care that have expectations of the way we create an environment for them to practice in. And then the community overall. So every community has, I was just talking to the minister from the Woodlands Church and here in Atascocita, and he was talking to me about what a great diversity of generations, because I said, is that a young community? He said, no, it's a little bit of everything. So, but each one of those generations has a different need. So, okay, next. Uh-oh, too dark. But anyway, here's some things about the veterans, okay? So they're 11% of the population for obvious reasons. I mean, they're older, so they're, they were born sooner, so not as many of them still with us. But they grew up during a period of scarcity. So they grew up in either the end of the Depression or their parents experienced the Depression. So a lot of people that lived through the Depression never felt comfortable spending any money or utilizing resources. And they also went through World War II. And I think any of you have parents that are veterans, you heard all about that there were no pantyhose and no, so they love their history of having done without. They're rule followers and conformers. We wish there were more of them working, because we sure would love a few more followers of the rules, because the rest of the generations love to challenge the rules. They were focused totally on long-term employment, long-term relationships. You lived in a neighborhood forever, and you wanted security. You wanted to know you had your job, you wanted to know your neighbors. They respect authority and the chain of command. They're financially conservative, they're savers. Quite patriotic, don't tend to question their country and the motives of the people that run the country. And they kept personal issues private at work. So you didn't, and a lot of you who are managers know that's not the case anymore. But you didn't tell people about the things you were struggling with, because that would reflect poorly on you in the workplace. So what does this mean for us? This population is only 11% of the population as a whole, but they're more than a third of the healthcare clients that we serve. And so they're a big part of our story of what we have to address as healthcare providers. There's 35% of hospital stays are people from this generation, and 38% of the emergency care provided. They're in the hospital longer, so we really have to know what we're doing with them, because we're going to be with them longer, and they're there more frequently. They follow doctor's orders, though. And they rely heavily on the doctors for their information and referrals. They don't do a lot of questioning. I don't know if any of you have parents, but I've got a father who says in his New York accent, "No, I'm not asking the doctor nothing. He knows what he's doing." And so, so I'm like, Dad, you could ask. No, I don't want the guy to get mad at me and make a mistake. So I'm telling you that this generation, they're loyal to their doctors and their hospitals. That's their hospital. That's their doctor. Some of their doctors are as old as they are. So they're actually more tech savvy than expected. So the whole, technology and the internet has changed healthcare totally. I mean, what do you do if you get a pain in your left side now? You Google it, right? Pain in left side. After dancing for many hours at my cousin's wedding, you put everything in there to find out, was there a relationship between this and this? So they're way more tech savvy. As a matter of fact, more than half of them use the internet every single day. My dad's internet is broken right now. That's what he told me. The internet's broken. I got it. But anyway, but they don't use it for healthcare research or reviews. They're not doing that. They're not doing what we're all doing, and they're not Googling their symptoms. They're on there every day looking at pictures of their great-grandchildren and sending dirty and stupid emails to each other. So. And then they forward it to everyone they ever knew. And they're on Facebook a lot, too. It's really cool, though. Their children, baby boomers, are involved with their health care. We ask the questions unless they tell us we can't. So we're always working on trying to get them, taken care of. They expect to be treated respectfully as patients or family members. That's a big, high expectation of them. There's still a population that wants to be called Mr. So-and-so when they're in there, unless they tell you, call me Frank. And they want healthcare people to look very professional and you can imagine that's a challenge for us right now. So they try to find a whole staff of healthcare people in today's world with nobody has a tattoo. My dad's like, the nurse has a tattoo, get me another nurse. But so it's a tough road. These seem like minor issues, but how many of you are struggling with dress code in your own businesses and the expectations of the different generations? And you're like, wow. And they have a very traditional view of professionalism in healthcare. So they view a nurse with 5 earrings as being less proficient and less competent than a nurse who walks in there with they'd love a cap. If they could have a cap again, they'd be very happy. In as terms of workers, there's very few of them still in the full-time workforce. They have jobs, part-time jobs, Walmart greeters and such, and some of them are still consulting, but there's not as many of them. They were very loyal to their employers when they were working. They don't question authority. They followed the rules. They followed the directions and policies. They were respectful, and they did not expect a voice. They just expected to go in there and do what they were told. There were no employee surveys back in their day. No, they knew nobody cared, and they didn't expect anybody to care. The technology had little to no that was supposed to be rule in their professional lives. So they lived a whole profession without really messing with technology very much. And their greatest focus, the greatest way you communicated was through meetings and face-to-face conversations. Job security was all of what it was about. Lifetime employer. They worked very hard, but they didn't work the hours that the next generation worked. They went home, and they didn't work, on their days off as much as later generations. And they were very private about their personal issues. I need to go first. Baby boomers, born 1946 and 1964, we're 30% of the population, and we're post-war babies. A lot of us were born during a period of economic upturns and had pretty nice little childhoods. But we did grow up during civil rights and the Vietnam War, and also the beginning of feminism. So a lot was going on socially while we were growing up. It's an optimistic group. It's always been a group that thought if you just work a little harder and do a little more, we can get to the other side of our issues and our challenges. We're driven and ambitious, and we value success, extremely focused on our children, and we're paying for it now. But we'll talk about my 24-year-old later. But we're facing the challenges of our elderly parents. Like I explained to my 87-year-old father the other day, he goes, I never went through this with your grandmother. I'm like, she died when she was 79. You're still hanging it. No, I sound terrible, but we do have more issues because our parents are still alive. And they want to have very active lives too, but they have a lot of health challenges. We're very focused on political correctness. We're the generation of, you don't say that, you don't wear that, that's not going to reflect well on you. And we have a total work-life imbalance situation. You ought to follow Melinda Stevenson around for a few days if you want to see a total work-life imbalance situation. But we invented multitasking, doing 5 things at one time, and the 50-hour work week. So, but actually this is a generation that is also gone digital. We're not digital natives. We didn't grow up with it, but we're getting better, and we are using it to get health information. We're usually a lot of our generation will see things on television or in a magazine, like in more traditional channels, but then that'll refer us to a website. So we're not as likely to sit down and just go looking for it online. We hold multiple healthcare roles because right now we're managing our own health, and then we're caregiving for our parents, and then we got these kids that won't go away. So we're advocates and advisors for our children. Our children are very attached to us, and so we're even advising them on our grandchildren. We have some level of loyalty to our doctors and hospitals, not like our parents did, but we will make a change if we're persistently not satisfied. So it'll take a few bad encounters, and then we'll go, I'm going to leave them. I hate to do it. And then we're like that about our hairdressers, too. But anyway, we expect respect and professionalism from healthcare staff, including doctors. We will ask questions, and we want answers. As employees, we're loyal to our career choices and our employers, so we don't make as many career changes. I'm actually kind of blowing that out of the water right now and making a career change at this point in my life, and it's got me totally crazy. So it is something that we're hardwired to kind of stick with the same thing. We work real hard, and we'll make consistent personal sacrifices for our work. We just think that's normal, what you have to do. We don't expect our children to do it, though. It's hilarious. We're team-oriented with a strong work ethic, but we're real judgmental. People that don't work as hard as us, yeah, we get upset if somebody takes lunch, Yeah, lunch, that'd be nice, Like right now, there's a lot of people talking about you. You're eating lunch. We're focused on professionalism, including appearance and personal presentation. Very important to us, and we expect this from others too. So she looks like heck, is something that we constantly say, take a look at her. We balance demanding positions with a strong focus on our children and responsibility for our age, our parents. So even though we're working all these weeks, somehow or another we're still bailing out these 20-somethings and keeping up with our parents, So we have a lot on our plates. Good thing we go on good vacations, and optimistic and very persistent. And I better speed up, anyway, Gen X. So this is a kind of a quiet generation, 1965 to early 1980s. They grew up in dual income families. These are the first latchkey kids. So some of you were in the room. I remember, my mother was so upset about my kids, going home after school to daycare and everything. This generation doesn't think anything weird about that. That's just what they did. There's more divorced parents and more single households, especially led by mothers. They watched their parents get downsized, and some of them even got downsized in the beginning of their careers. They got their first job and then lost it. So that's affected their loyalty factor. They're like, yeah, well, they're going to cut me, so I'll cut out of here when I need to. They really balance work and fun. They want to have a balance of life with fun. They're independent but skeptical. They tend to be techno-literate. Global perspective. They're looking at the global world now. We really didn't do that in past generations. This is the first generation to really look at the global world. They're not real impressed by authority. I mean, it's okay, but they don't get real worried about it, and they have to know why everything's going on. This was the first Y generation. So this was the first consumer healthcare. They act like consumers in healthcare. They shop, they research, and then they make their choices on what hospital they're going to use, what physician they're going to use, where they're going to go based on what they've researched. And so they're looking at these reviews and they're looking at ratings. And so we live in a rating world in healthcare now. I don't know how, all our healthcare colleagues know that this is a totally metrics-driven world. We're even being reimbursed by how our patients rate their experience with us. Our whole world has kind of gone upside down with all of this, and this generation is really part of the steam that pushed this forward. They have short-term expectations. Don't expect to have a doctor for life. They switch doctors if one bad experience. Switch hospitals the same way. They want to see a healthcare provider with good experience, good credentials, and a good reputation, and they will ask doctors, everybody, they will ask all the questions they need to ask, and they have really high expectations for the patient experience. They really want to go to a hotel, basically. They want it to feel like a hotel. I remember, do you remember, if any of you are older, there used to be a big sign up in the hospital when I was a kid, and my grandfather was in there a lot, so we were there a lot, and it was a big nurse, and she just said, it said, be quiet, and she was like this. Could you imagine if you had we had a nurse who used to tell us good night and get out at the end of visiting hours. Now we can't even have visiting hours. Everybody gets to be able to stay however long they want. So this is the generation that kind of pushed that envelope and changed that. They have, as employees, they have high expectations of their employer and their job satisfaction, and they move easily between jobs. They place limits on the personal sacrifices they'll make for their jobs. They're ethical, very ethically based group. They really want people to behave according to a set of behavioral code that they can buy into. They're a confident group of people. They went home alone every day, a lot of them. They opened up the door, they got themselves a snack. You get confidence and self-assurance from that. They have to have meaningful work. They have a hard time sticking around with a job where we never sat around thinking, what's the meaningfulness of this work? This group wants to know, why am I even doing this? They don't really care if you've been senior too long. What did you put on the table? What did you deliver? And this is where project-oriented work came from. Get in there, do a project, get out. They don't really want to go through a lot of procedural stuff. They want to do the project, get it done, and move out. And then the last group, this is the group that's that's changing the world, and it's our Generation Y or millennials. They're born in the 1980s and after. 33% of the population. So last year, I think about mid-year, they surpassed the baby boomers, and there's more of them. And I was thinking, why? Because our parents had so many more children, and we're not dead yet. But they actually, a lot of this is through immigration, I was reading. So there's a large immigration, people from other countries that are falling into this category. So as I said, they just passed the baby boomers in terms of their population percentage. These people are digital natives. I was telling this to my 24-year-old last night. He never functioned in the world without a computer. All of you who have children, think about that. These children didn't have a computer in their life. They can't tell a story about their first computer. They don't remember. You know, my son was 4 years old. He could fix the computer, but he couldn't wash himself. So I remember that because my husband was 56 years old when we had him, so he was like 60 at the time, and the kid's like, would somebody wash me so I could get out and fix the computer, because the other kid was having a problem with it. And so my husband said, there's something so wrong with that. But anyway, they look at multiple sources. So they've gone back, they're not just online, they're talking to friends, and they're really talking to their parents. They really like us. Sometimes we wish they didn't like us so much, but they really do like their parents. They're influenced by brands. So those of you that have a really good brand in the healthcare environment, they like healthcare brands. And they like advertising. They actually look at advertising, a lot of it online, but they do, and ratings. They're very rating focused. But they're back to wanting that personal relationship with their doctors. They want to know them. They want to know the pediatrician. We would take whatever doctor was on that day, because we had to get back to work. They want personal attention too. They were given all this personal attention, So they need somebody to pay attention to them. And they're likely to switch if they have one negative experience as well, and they'll quickly share their experiences. So they're real chatty, and they're telling everybody. So if you blow it with them, they're going to make sure all their friends know. As employees, they're very ambitious with high expectations for their careers, but a lot of times they don't like the focus. So they want the great job right out of the chute, So it's hard for them sometimes to go through the tough stuff. And they think they should be making a lot of money right out of the chute. They really want to make what you're making as their parents right when they graduate. They respect competency and skills over seniority or titles. And they believe processes, policies, and rewards should be focused accordingly. Like all the rewards should be based on who got the most done, who put the most results on the table. We always dragged along those people, our generation, oh, he stinks, but he's been here for 15 years. They think they need to go, or else at least they should get a way bigger raise. But they really believe people make an organization great. So they're back to that idea that it's about the people. They're good team players. They've been on 1 million teams. They're the most overscheduled generation. They were on soccer and tennis, and they went to 1 million different clubs and piano lessons. So they're used to playing in a team, and they're used to being loyal to their peers, even though they are competitive because of all the competitive type things they did. They stay very networked with colleagues, so they stay in touch. Social media did that. Though makes it they're natives to that, so they didn't have to learn how to start staying in touch. They used it from the beginning. They have high expectations for flexible work arrangements, and they want respect for their individualism. So, for instance, it's really challenging in healthcare, because imagine trying to staff a nursing unit where everybody wants to work a different shift, and it's a 24/7 operation. So they don't want to work. So it's about 15 years ago we moved to 12-hour shifts, because then you could work 3 days this week and only 4 days, and it's longer days but more days off. Went to 2 shifts, made it easier, but some of them want to go back to the 8s, and some of them want just 4 hours. And everybody's like, why can't you just accommodate these people? It's such a mishmash. We have holes in the schedule. So we really struggle with trying to make this workforce meet their needs. But so these are the challenges that go on. But this is an exceptional generation that's very big and going to make a lot of difference. So to kind of sum up, so what? What do we do with all this? What do we do with all this? Well, the big thing we have to do is, a lot of us who are in senior leadership are from the older generation. We're the baby boomers, and even there's some of the veterans still out there in senior leadership. So we have to stop going, we're the bosses and we're gonna dictate how this all goes, and we are going to have to get to know and understand who we employ and who we serve and what they expect, because there's a talent war out there now. A lot of you've seen that. There's people applying out there, but people with just the skill set you need, especially in healthcare, huge healthcare shortages. We are going to have to accommodate the expectations and preferences of this population, this limited population that will serve our patients. And we've also got to create the patient experience that addresses the needs of that different group. That means we have to do a lot of training to different people about when they walk into a room and they see. And this is not just generational diversity. This is, all the different diversity that we're dealing with. We have to figure out what each other needs and figure out how we can reach out there and get it to them. We've got lots of data available to us. They're telling us. There's all these surveys. They're telling us this stuff. We've got to listen to them. And once we get that knowledge and skills, and we've created an acceptance that we have to do this, we have to meet the needs of a diverse population, then we need to build plans, service line plans, strategic plans, even plans on how the plant, the building is created, how we communicate, how much information we provide, what we do, how we reward people. We have to do that with a multi-generational team around the table. So we can't put a bunch of 60-year-old white folks around a table to build this plan that's going to address a diverse population of employees and patients. So unless you put out, and you got to go down to the bottom of the organization sometimes, the very first line of providers, and get them around that table, because they do provide a perspective that you don't have. We all are our story. We all are our story. And so, and then what else? The community is another source of lots of information. So that's why these types of organizations are so important, because you're learning about the entire community through each other. And and diversity is here to stay. We could, I think it's natural human instinct to kind of want everything to be the same as it used to be, and everybody to kind of look the same. But it's boring, and this is challenging and an opportunity to really expand yourself as an individual. So that's what we're all of us in leadership are stretched to do. It's funny because they said in my introduction that I've actually been 35 years in human resources in a very traditional position, 57 years old, that's pretty, and I've just recently made this decision to kind of go out there and do something different. And I'm actually getting certified to actually sit down and kind of coach with very specific methodology. There's a certification and everything for this. These senior leaders who are having a hard time with these people challenges. So that they can kind of open up their mind and kind of think differently and be able to communicate differently, because we've got all this brilliance. And a big population that are getting a lot of coaching these days are physicians. So brilliant, but sometimes don't have the skill set to be able to pull information out of people, to be able to create a bond that's going to get us from here to there in terms of our results. So, big shakeup for me. I told my kids I was doing this thinking they were going to go, "Are you crazy?" And they're like, "Oh, that sounds cool," And I'm like, "No, this is big, kids. This is big." So anyway, trying to embrace some diversity in my own world here, but we have a million challenges going on in healthcare. But really, when it comes down to it, if you'd ask any healthcare leader, I got a whole table full of them over here. If you ask any healthcare leader, what's the stuff that keeps you up at night? It's the people stuff, meeting the needs of all the people that. So that's what I've dedicated my career to, and I hope every one of you understands and can support us in our challenges here. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Nancy. Nancy, if I can get you to come right back up here real quick. Just want to give you a token of our appreciation. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. All right, now for what you all came for. Our award sponsor is Harris County EMS. I would like to invite Jennifer Falk and Kelly Metlock with the Harris County EMS to come forward to help me with the awards. In addition to the awards, finalists will also receive commemorative certificates from the offices of U.S. Congressman Ted Poe, State Representative Dan Huberty, and Houston City Council Member Dave Martin. All right. So, our Nurse of the Year finalist. There we go. Our Nurse of the Year finalist. Our number one is Kimberly Bennett. Now, as I read off your bio, if you can start making your way this direction. So, Kimberly Bennett. Kimberly graduated from the College of Biblical Studies with a Bachelor in Biblical Counseling. She went on to Prairie View A&M University to receive her BSN. Kimberly is a staff nurse and charge nurse in the neonatal intensive care unit at Memorial Hermann Northeast Hospital. She is active in her community and sorority with a focus on projects that tie into her passion for nursing, on the needs of women, infants, and children. Thank you, Kimberly, for your dedication and willingness to serve your community. And then if you can just wait right over here. Okay. Next, we have Luann Wishner. I hope I said that right. Is that right? Wishner? Wisher. Huh? Wisher. All right. Luann holds her BSN degree from the University of Texas at Arlington and is currently enrolled in the MSN program with a major in nursing education. She currently works as an international board-certified lactation consultant for Memorial Hermann Northeast Hospital. She sits on the Breastfeeding Task Force Committee, the System Lactation Council, and the Women's Services Practice Council. She organizes the team that hosts World Breastfeeding Week each summer and works with hospital volunteers to provide gift packs to moms. Luann is married to her husband James and the mother of four-year-old and 2-year-old twin daughters. Is that right? 4-year-old twins and 2-year-old twins?
No, this is a 4-year-old and then 2-year-old twins.
Oh, a 4-year-old and twin 2-year-olds. Okay. I was going to say, bless your heart. Yeah, if that were the case, we were going to get the pastor to pass the hat for you. So, anyway, thank you, Luann, for your inspiration, spirit of volunteerism, and service to educating new mothers. Our last finalist, Trudy Perisher. Is that right? Okay, Trudy Perisher. Trudy is currently attending the University of Texas Arlington for her Bachelor of Science in Nursing. She recently obtained her certification as a registered operating room nurse in December of 2015. Trudy works as the hybrid vascular team leader for Memorial Hermann Northeast, often filling in for the charge nurse. She is a clinical coach and a preceptor, mentor for new employees and students. In 2011, Trudy was the nominee for the Good Samaritan Award. She serves as the Perioperative Services Council co-chair and sits on the Quality of Care Shared Governance Committee. Outside of work, Trudy is active in her community and church. Thank you, Trudy, for your selfless dedication to your patients, their families, and our community. At this time, I'd like to announce this year's Nurse of the Year, Trudy Perisher. Trudy, I'd like to invite you to, if you'd like to say a few words.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Wow, what an honor and a surprise. It takes great leadership and an excellent team and a lot of blessings to get us here. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to all three of our nursing finalists.
One, two, three. And then you can grab one really quick. One, two, and one more. Perfect.
All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, all three of you. Thank you. And just a quick reminder at the conclusion, we'd like all of our honorees to come back up for some group pictures. All right, next category is our Healthcare Professional of the Year. Finalists include number 1, Lori Harrison. Lori graduated from Texas A&M University. I knew that was coming, Heath Rushing. Where she majored in biomedical science and received a degree in pre-pharmacy. She went on to graduate from the University of Texas at Austin. Well, how does that happen? How do you start at A&M and end up at Texas? I've never figured that one out yet, so. But anyway, so she got her degree from University of Texas at Austin, a BS pharmacy major. She has been a loyal and dedicated employee of Walgreens for over 20 years. She has many certifications, which include CPR, bloodborne pathogen certification, immunizations, and travel vaccine training, to name a few. Lori is a member of the Aggie Moms Club and participates each year in the Ham Flu Shot Drive. She is also involved in many community events involving healthcare screenings. Lori is married and has 2 sons who currently attend Texas A&M University in College Station. Thank you, Lori, for your continued care and dedication to your patients and community. All right, finalist number 2, we have Dr. Angel Munoz. Dr. Munoz is the NICU director for Memorial Hermann Northeast and the founder of We Care Pediatrics in Humble. As the first neonatologist in the Lake Houston area, Dr. Munoz helped establish the neonatology program at Memorial Hermann Northeast in 1994. During his tenure at Memorial Hermann Northeast, Dr. Munoz has served on the Credentials Committee, the Medical Informatics Committee, and as the OB/GYN Department Chair. Prior to becoming a neonatologist, Dr. Munoz began his medical career as a pediatric neurologist, where he developed the passion for caring for high-risk infants, many of whom were on Medicaid. He recognized the struggle to find pediatric offices who would accept his indigent neurology patients, so he felt compelled to open a pediatric practice that would care for all children, regardless of their parents' income or insurance coverage. He donates an immense amount of personal time and money to help those in need. Some of his most notable contributions include serving as a mentor and teaching location for Atascocita and Hargrave High School students who are completing clinical rotations, allowing college students to shadow him, and provide financial support to several local causes and nonprofit organizations. Dr. Munoz is married with 2 daughters and a grandson. Thank you, Dr. Munoz, for your dedication and example to your colleagues and future physicians. Now, when I was named chairman of the board and I was told I was going to be doing this, they didn't tell me I was going to get a vocabulary lesson as I was introducing people. There's about a half dozen words there that I had no clue if I was saying it right or what it meant. So, anyhow. All right, our third finalist is Miss Melinda Stevenson. Melinda began her healthcare career as a graduate of the University of Texas with a BSN in nursing and continued her education at the University of Houston Clear Lake, where she received her MBA in business. Years later, she continues in that profession as the CEO of Kingwood Medical Center. Melinda is seen as a visionary leader with a servant heart. She has been instrumental in major expansions on campus, acquisitions of state-of-the-art equipment, recruitment of top-notch leaders and physicians, and a comprehensive focus on quality improvement among staff at every level. Melinda was awarded the recognition as Woman of Achievement in Healthcare from Family Time in 2014. She currently serves on the Executive Committee of the Lake Houston Area Chamber of Commerce, as well as other boards and committees in the Lake Houston area. She also serves and supports the East Montgomery Chamber of Commerce, Family Time, Lake Houston Family YMCA, and Village Learning Center. Thank you, Melinda, for your inspiration and contributions to healthcare and the community. And the winner of this year's Healthcare Professional of the Year is Miss Melinda Stevenson.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just feel very blessed to go to work every day at a great place where I love the people I work with, and then to get to spend time in this great community. So thank you for recognizing something I love to do. Appreciate it.
Congratulations once again to all of our finalists and our award winners. And thank you again to Jennifer and Kelly from Harris County EMS being our award sponsor. Thank you very much. Just a friendly reminder, and we're not going to be a lot longer because it looks like we're fixing to get some bad weather, but we want to do a group picture with all the honorees at the conclusion of the program. Let's see, where we go. I'd like to introduce Mr. Heath Rushing and Corey Turner with the Lake Houston Area Chamber 5K, 10K that's about to come up. Come on up, Heath and Corey.
All right, very quickly, we just want to remind everyone who comes out every year and inform those who haven't been, the Lake Houston 10K, 5K is almost here. We've been hard at work. We've got some very exciting changes this year. We've kind of taken in all the feedback we've gotten the past several years, and we want to see everyone in the room here run, walk, invite, make it a family thing, make it a staff thing. It's a lot of fun. So the date is August 20th, that's Saturday morning, and we've got lots of pictures, and we will put you on our website. We won't embarrass anyone too much, but I'm serious. We've got a great race in store for you guys coming up. We want to break a record, and we can't do that without the help of everyone in this room. So if you'd please reach out to your staff, family, friends. It's a family event for the hardcore folks. It's a sanctioned race, and it'll be a lot of fun.